Dear students, welcome to one more new video. In this video, let us see repeated questions of SSLC Social Science. Mention the reasons of the Battle of Plassey. What were the outcomes of the Battle of Plassey? What were the outcomes of the Battle of Buxar? Explain the concept of dual government. What were the conditions under subsidiary alliance? What were the effects of British land taxes? Make a list of the effects of modern education in India. What were the restrictions imposed in Regulating Act? How does the India Government Act of 1935 became the base of Indian Constitution? What are the important features of 1919 Act or Montagu-Chelmsford Act? What were the reforms introduced by the British in education? What are the important features of Indian Councils Act of 1909 or Minto-Morley Reformation Act? What are the important features of the Charter Act of 1813? What were the conditions of Srirangapatnam Treaty or the effects of Third Anglo-Mysore War? Explain the method adopted by Sangolli Rayanna to fight against the British. What are the reasons for Third Anglo-Mysore War? Explain rebellion of Bedas of Halagali. What are the important aspects of Brahmo Samaj? What are the aims of Arya Samaj? What were the reformation activities of Annie Besant? How did the economic policies result in the mutiny of 1857? What were the reasons for the failure of 1857 revolt? What were the political reasons for First War of Indian Independence? What were the administrative reasons for the First War of Indian Independence? Explain the results of 1857 mutiny. Explain the role of moderates in Indian freedom movement. Discuss the role of Balagangadhar Tilak in the Indian independence movement. List out the programs of non-cooperation movement. Explain the achievements of Subhash Chandra Bose in independence movement. Explain the various tribal revolts in the history of independence struggle. Explain the major achievements of Nehru as the first Prime Minister of India. Explain the achievements of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Explain the workers' revolt. Explain the farmers' protest. Explain the major developments that took place during non-cooperation movement. How did the nation face refugee problem? How was Goa liberated from Portuguese? Explain the integration of Hyderabad. How did Junagadh join Indian Federation? What are your suggestions to improve the status of women? What are the measures taken to curb the problem of corruption? What are the measures suggested to eradicate communalism? What are the aims of India's foreign policy? What are the Panchashila principles? What are the basic aspects of India's foreign policy? India has been considered as one of the major countries of the world. Why? The foreign policy of India is also called as foreign policy of Nehru. Why? Explain the mutual cooperation that exists between India and USA. Explain the relationship between India and Russia. Explain the relationship between India and Pakistan. Explain the relationship between India and China. What were the major problems that emerged after World War II? How does the UN strive to protect human rights? Disarmament is the present as well as future need of the humanity. Why? What are the features of social stratification? What are the legal measures to eradicate untouchability? What are the major forms of social stratification? What are the differences between organized and unorganized workers? Explain the nature of mob. Explain the nature of mob violence. Explain Narmada Bachao Andolana. Explain Silent Valley Movement. Write briefly about the Siwalik Hills. Distinguish between the Eastern Ghats and the Western Ghats. State the importance of northern or Himalayan mountains. Explain the importance of the peninsular plateau. Distinguish between the western coastal plain and the eastern coastal plain. Explain the importance of the coastal plains. Explain the importance of the northern Great Plain. Mention the main causes of soil erosion. What are the major effects of soil erosion? Mention the measures adopted for conserving soil. Mention the measures for the conservation of forests. Explain the features of the tropical deciduous forests. What are the causes for the destruction of forests? Mention the factors which affect the land use. Mention the classification of land use. Explain the importance of agriculture in India. Mention the factors which affects cropping pattern. Explain briefly about the importance of road transport in India. Explain the importance of transport. Explain the importance of railway transport. Mention the ports on the west coast. Mention the ports on the east coast. What is meant by manufacturing industries? Mention their factors of location. List out the major industrial regions in India. What are the causes of cyclones? What are the effects of cyclones? What are the preventive measures for cyclone? What are the effects of flood? What are the flood control measures? What are the causes for earthquakes? What are the precautionary measures of earthquakes? What is HDI? How it is calculated? Examine the causes for low HDI of India. How to achieve gender equality. Explain the importance of women self-help groups. Explain briefly the significance of rural development. Explain Gandhiji's concept of Grama Swarajya in the light of decentralization. What is the role of Panchayat Raj institutions in rural development? Mention the list of activities that are essential for rural development. Mention the key features of the Panchayat Raj system adopted in India. Explain the role of women self-help groups in rural development. List out the characteristics relating to bank transaction. What are the functions of bank? What are the services offered by banks. What are the services rendered by the post office? What are the types of bank? Explain the procedures to open a bank account. What are the advantages of opening a bank account? What are the characteristics of entrepreneurship? Explain the importance of an entrepreneur. What are the functions of entrepreneur? Mention the four important aims of the Consumer Protection Act. What are the rights of consumer?